The USS Pioneer floated in space, its hull reflecting the distant sunlight. It was not a pretty ship. The metal plates looked rough and bulky compared to the smooth, shining vessels of the alien races nearby. Captain John Miller stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the main screen. At 52, his hair showed streaks of gray, and the lines on his face told stories of past missions. He wore the dark blue uniform of the United Earth Space Agency with pride, even as he heard the whispers from the alien diplomats. "That is the best Earth could send?" The voice belonged to Ambassador Zex of the Arcturian Alliance. His crystalline form shimmered as he spoke to his aide. "My personal shuttle has more advanced technology." Captain Miller pretended not to hear. He had gotten used to such comments over the past few weeks. The USS Pioneer was Earth's first attempt at a true, deep space diplomatic vessel. Humans had only joined the galactic community 15 years ago, when alien ships had finally revealed themselves to Earth. Since then, humans had been playing catch-up. "Captain, we're receiving transmission requests from 6 different alien vessels," said Catherine Jones, the ship's communications officer. Her fingers moved quickly over her console. "They all want to schedule tours of our ship." "Tours?" Miller frowned. "Or chances to point and laugh?" Catherine gave a small smile. "Probably both, sir." Miller nodded. "Schedule them as you see fit. Tell them we're honored by their interest in Earth's technology." He knew what these tours really were. The advanced alien races wanted to see the quaint and primitive human ship that still used physical engines and metal armor instead of their energy fields and gravity manipulation. The bridge door slid open, and Lisa Wright entered. As Earth's ambassador, she wore a formal white suit that stood out among the uniforms. Her face showed the strain of 3 months spent defending Earth's achievements against constant belittlement. "Captain," she said with a nod. "The Galactic Confederation Council meeting did not go well." "Let me guess," Miller replied. "More jokes about our fusion engines and physical hull?" Lisa sank into an empty chair. "The Syrian delegate called us charming for still using visible thrusters. The Proxima representative suggested we might want to display our ship in their technology museum as an example of early space travel." Miller's jaw tightened. Earth had poured massive resources into building the Pioneer. It represented the best technology humans could create. Yet here, among the stars, it was seen as little more than a child's toy. "The Arcturians were the worst," Lisa continued. "They actually asked if we needed help getting home since our primitive engines might break down." "Our engines work just fine," came a voice from the doorway. Paul Garcia, the chief engineer, entered the bridge. His uniform was stained with grease, something that would never happen on alien ships where engineers controlled systems through mental links and holographic interfaces. "We may not bend space like they do, but we get where we're going." "I know." "Paul," Miller said, "how are the systems holding up?" "Everything's running at peak efficiency. Olivia is still fine-tuning the response time on the maneuvering thrusters." Olivia Martinez was Garcia's assistant, a brilliant physicist who had developed new theories about adaptive materials. She kept mostly to herself, working closely with Dr. Samuel Thompson, the head scientist aboard the Pioneer. The ship's internal communication system beeped. "Captain," came Dr. Thompson's voice, "could you join me in Lab 3 when you have a moment? There's something I'd like to discuss." "On my way," Miller replied. He turned to Lisa. "Keep scheduling those diplomatic meetings. Maybe someone will take us seriously eventually." The corridors of the Pioneer were practical and simple. Metal, walls with clear markings, handrails for zero-gravity situations, and lighting designed to mimic Earth's natural daylight. Miller nodded to crew members as he passed, noting their professional demeanor despite the strain of being treated as inferior by every alien they met. He found Dr. Thompson in Lab 3, hunched over a microscope. At 65, Thompson was the oldest crew member on the Pioneer, with a reputation for brilliance that had earned him respect even among some alien scientists. "What am I looking at?" Miller asked as he peered into the microscope. "A sample of our hull material," Thompson replied. His voice was quiet as always. Nothing special, apparently. Just standard titanium carbon composite with radiation shielding. Miller looked up. "Apparently," Thompson smiled slightly. The Arcturians scanned our ship yesterday. Their sensors showed exactly what everyone expects to see: outdated metal, alloys, and basic shielding. That's what we built the ship with, isn't it? Miller asked, confused. Dr. Thompson's eyes sparkled with something Miller hadn't seen before. Not exactly, Captain. What if I told you the Pioneer isn't what everyone thinks it is? What if this ship is our greatest secret? Before Thompson could continue, the ship's alarm blared. Miller tapped his communication badge. Bridge, report. Captain, we're receiving a distress call. Catherine's voice replied urgently. Mining colony on Epsilon Eridani 4. They're under attack. By whom? Miller asked. The Voidborn, sir. The message says 2 Arcturian defense vessels have already been destroyed. Miller's blood ran cold. The Voidborn were mysterious entities. Part matter and part energy. That could phase between normal space and some unknown dimension. They rarely appeared, but when they did, destruction followed. How far are we from Epsilon Eridani 4? Miller asked. 3 days at maximum speed, sir, came the reply from Frank Ellis, the navigator. Are there any other ships in range to respond faster? Negative, Captain. We're the only vessel within response range. Miller looked at Dr. Thompson, who nodded slightly. Set course for Epsilon Eridani 4. Maximum speed, Miller ordered. Alert the crew for potential combat situation. As Miller rushed back to the bridge, the ship's communication system picked up transmissions from nearby alien vessels. The humans are responding? With that outdated box of metal? Came an Arcturian voice. They cannot be serious, replied a Syrian. Their ship will be torn apart in seconds. Should we warn them that the Voidborn destroyed our advanced defense vessels almost instantly? Asked another voice. They must not understand the threat, came the reply. No one would willingly go against the Voidborn in such a primitive vessel. But, as the USS Pioneer changed course and accelerated toward Epsilon Eridani 4, Captain Miller knew they had no choice. Colonies with thousands of lives were at stake. Even if the aliens thought the Pioneer was outdated and weak, humanity would not ignore a cry for help. What Miller didn't know was that Dr. Thompson and Olivia Martinez were now rushing to a hidden laboratory deep within the ship, preparing to reveal what the Pioneer truly was, a secret that would change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. The USS Pioneer pushed through space at its maximum speed. For 3 days, the engines hummed louder than normal as Captain Miller demanded everything the ship could give. On the bridge, the crew worked with quiet focus. They all knew what waited. For them at Epsilon Eridani 4, an enemy that had already destroyed advanced alien ships. 12 hours until we reach the mining colony, said navigator Frank Ellis. His fingers danced over his control panel, making small adjustments to their course. Miller nodded. Any updates on the situation? Communications officer Catherine Jones looked up from her station. The last message came 6 hours ago. The colony has moved most people to underground shelters. The Voidborn have destroyed the main power plant and 3 residential areas. Any word from the Galactic Confederation? Are they sending help? Catherine shook her head. They're gathering a response fleet, but it won't arrive for at least 5 days. By then it might be too late, Miller said quietly. The door to the bridge slid open and Dr. Thompson walked in with Olivia Martinez. Both looked tired, as if they hadn't slept since the distress call came in. Captain, we need to speak with you, Thompson said, in private. Miller raised an eyebrow but nodded. Ms. Wright, you have the bridge. I'll be in my ready room. Miller's ready room was small and simple. A desk, 3 chairs, and a window looking out into space. He sat behind his desk and studied the faces of the 2 scientists. Something was different about them, a mix of worry and excitement. What's this about? He asked. Dr. Thompson placed a small black device on the desk. He pressed a button and a soft hum filled the room. Privacy field, he explained. What I'm about to tell you is known by only 6 people on Earth. Miller leaned forward. I'm listening. The Pioneer isn't what everyone thinks it is, Thompson began. The hull, engines, even most of the systems that the crew works with daily, they're real, but they're not the whole truth. Olivia spoke up. 3 years ago, I developed a theory about adaptive nanomachines that could learn from their environment and evolve to meet new challenges. The military rejected it as too experimental, but the space agency didn't, Thompson continued. They saw the potential and created Project Chrysalis. The Pioneer's hull contains billions of microscopic machines that can reshape, reorganize, and essentially transform the entire ship when needed. Miller stared at them. Are you saying our ship can change? More than change, Olivia said with intensity in her eyes. It can evolve, adapt, become something new based on the threats it faces. Why wasn't I told about this? Miller demanded. Security, Thompson replied simply. The aliens have technology to detect thoughts, to read minds. The fewer people who knew, the better our secret was protected. Miller stood up and walked to the window. So all this time, while we've been mocked and laughed at, we've been hiding our true capabilities, Thompson finished. The primitive appearance is part of the deception. Why reveal this now? Olivia stepped forward. Because the Voidborn aren't like anything humanity has faced before. They exist partially in another dimension. Regular weapons can't hurt them effectively. But adaptive technology might, Thompson added. The nanomachines can analyze the Voidborn attacks and evolve countermeasures. Miller turned back to face them. How do we activate this Chrysalis project? Thompson handed him a small key card. This plus your captain's authorization code will start the process, but there's something else you should know. What's that? Once started, we can't fully control what the ship will become. It will adapt based on its own analysis of the threat. We can guide it, work with it, but the final form will be determined by the nanomachines themselves. Miller took the key card, feeling its weight in his hand. Does the crew need to know? Only the senior staff, Olivia said, and only just before we activate it. The transformation will be dramatic. 4 hours later, Miller gathered his senior officers in the main conference room. Chief Engineer Paul Garcia, Security Chief Alan Parker, Medical Officer Diane Howard, and Ambassador Lisa Wright joined Thompson and Olivia. What I'm about to tell you doesn't leave this room, Miller began. He explained Project Chrysalis as Thompson and Olivia had explained it to him. Alan Parker, always suspicious, crossed his arms. I oversaw ship security during construction. I never saw anything like what you're describing. That was the point, Thompson replied. The nanomachines were integrated into the hull materials before they were even brought to the shipyard. Can we see proof? Garcia asked. Olivia nodded and pulled out a tablet. She displayed microscopic images of the hull, then zoomed in to show tiny machines nestled between the metal molecules. They're dormant now, but when activated, they'll spread throughout the ship's structure. What will happen to us? To the crew? Dr. Howard asked, medical concerns foremost in her mind. The living areas will be protected, Thompson assured her. The transformation mainly affects the outer hull, weapon systems, and engines. Lisa Wright had been quiet until now. The alien races will see this as deception. They might view it as a hostile act, hiding advanced technology while pretending to be primitive. Perhaps, Miller agreed. But right now, saving those colonists is more important than diplomatic niceties. His officers looked at each other, processing this revelation. Garcia was the first to speak. I always wondered why some sections of the ship were sealed off as structural supports. Those are control areas for the nanomachines, aren't they? Thompson nodded. You have good instincts, Chief. We'll reach Epsilon Eridania 4 in 8 hours, Miller said. I want all departments prepared. When we activate Chrysalis, things will change quickly. As they filed out, Catherine's voice came over the communication system. Captain, we're being hailed. It's the Arcturian diplomatic vessel. Miller returned to the bridge and accepted the transmission. The crystalline face of Ambassador Zex appeared on the screen. Captain Miller, the Arcturian said, his tone condescending as usual. We've been informed of your heroic but foolish mission. We're responding to a distress call, Ambassador, Miller replied calmly. With that outdated vessel? The Voidborn destroyed our most advanced defensive ships in moments. Your primitive craft will be torn apart. Turn back. Miller straightened, his uniform. Thank you for your concern, Ambassador, but we will continue our mission. I don't think you understand, Sex insisted. The Voidborn exist partially outside normal space. Your physical weapons cannot harm them. Nevertheless, we will try. The Arcturian made a sound like crystals clinking together. Their version of a sigh. Very well. We will monitor your approach. When your ship is destroyed, we will record it as a brave but futile human gesture. The transmission ended, and Miller turned to find his bridge crew watching him. They had not heard about Project Chrysalis yet, but they trusted their captain. Sir, Navigator Ellis said quietly, is there something about our ship that the aliens don't know? Miller allowed himself a small smile. Mr. Ellis, I believe the USS Pioneer is about to surprise everyone, including ourselves. In the hidden laboratory deep within the ship, Dr. Thompson and Olivia prepared the activation sequence for Project Chrysalis, knowing that in a few hours, the true nature of Earth's starship would be revealed to the galaxy. The USS Pioneer slowed as it entered the Epsilon Eridani system. Through the main view screen, the crew could see the fourth planet, a blue and green world with 3 small moons. Near the largest moon, dark shapes moved. They seemed to flicker, in and out of view like shadows that couldn't quite decide if they wanted to exist. The Voidborn, whispered Catherine. No one on the bridge had ever seen them before, but everyone knew what they were looking at. Magnify, ordered Captain Miller. The screen zoomed in, showing the strange entities more clearly. They had no fixed shape, shifting between forms that resembled clouds, then tentacles, then geometric patterns. Parts of them seemed to vanish and reappear somewhere else, as if they were only partially in this reality. They're attacking the northern continent, reported Security Chief Alan Parker, who was monitoring the tactical display. Colony sensors show 3 main groups. Each group has destroyed everything in its path. Miller turned to Dr. Thompson and Olivia, who had joined them on the bridge. It's time. Thompson nodded gravely. We should activate Chrysalis while we're still at a safe distance. The transformation process will make us temporarily vulnerable. Miller addressed the entire bridge crew. What you're about to see is classified at the highest level. Earth has kept this technology secret from the galactic community for good reason. The Pioneer is not what it appears to be. He explained Project Chrysalis quickly as shocked expressions spread across the faces of those who hadn't been briefed earlier. So our ship can change? Asked Navigator Ellis. Like some kind of living thing? More like extremely advanced technology that can learn and adapt, Olivia explained. The nanomachines will analyze the Voidborn and develop countermeasures. Miller inserted his keycard into a slot that had appeared on his command chair. All hands, this is the captain. Secure all stations and prepare for ship-wide transformation. This is not a drill. Throughout the Pioneer, crew members exchanged confused looks but followed orders. In the medical bay, Dr. Howard made sure patients were secure. In engineering, Paul Garcia checked that all systems were stable. Miller entered his authorization code. Computer, activate Project Chrysalis. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a subtle vibration began, starting at the outer hull and moving inward. The lights dimmed briefly, then returned brighter than before. Nanomachines activating, reported Thompson, watching readings on a special console that had risen from the floor. Hull integrity stable, internal systems functioning normally. Olivia's hands moved quickly over her controls. The nanomachines are spreading throughout the primary structure. Initial analysis of the Voidborn has begun based on long-range scans. Outside the ship, invisible to the crew, the first changes began. The nanomachines awakened from their dormant state, flowing. Through microscopic channels in the hull, they communicated with each other in ways no human could understand, sharing data and beginning to form a collective intelligence. Sir? Catherine called out suddenly. We're being hailed by several vessels. They're maintaining position just outside the system. Put them on screen, Miller ordered. The view screen split to show the faces of various alien representatives, including Ambassador Zex of the Arcturians. Captain Miller, Zex began. Our sensors detect unusual activity on your vessel. What are you doing? Preparing to engage the Voidborn, Miller replied calmly. Another alien, a Syrian with blue skin and large eyes, leaned forward. Our scans show molecular level changes in your ship's structure. You have concealed technology. Miller smiled slightly. We've kept a few tricks up our sleeves, yes. Deception, hissed a reptilian delegate. Humans claim to be technological. Infants. We never claimed anything, Miller corrected. You all assumed, and we didn't correct you. Before the aliens could respond further, an alarm sounded. Captain, Parker called out. The Voidborn have detected us. 3 entities are breaking off from the planet and heading our way. Time to intercept? Miller asked. 4 minutes, replied Navigator Ellis. Close channel, Miller told Catherine. The alien faces disappeared from the screen. Status of project. Chrysalis. Thompson looked up from his console, eyes wide with wonder. It's working better than we expected. The nanomachines have formed a neural network throughout the ship. They're analyzing the Voidborn energy signatures and adapting the hull structure. The vibration throughout the ship increased. Crew members grabbed onto railings and consoles as the deck seemed to shift beneath their feet. Don't fight it, Olivia advised. Let the ship move. It's reconfiguring. Outside, the Pioneer's appearance began to change dramatically. The rectangular, boxy shape started to flow like liquid metal. Armor plates shifted and reformed, thrusters relocated to more optimal positions. The hull color changed from dull gray to a shimmering silver that seemed to pulse with inner light. On the observation vessels watching from a distance, alien scientists and military leaders stared in disbelief. Impossible, whispered Ambassador Zex. Their technology was primitive, we scanned it ourselves. They deceived us, replied his aide. The humans hid their true capabilities. No, said an older Arcturian scientist. This is not deception. This is something entirely new. Look at the molecular structure, it's changing, adapting as we watch. The first Voidborn entity reached the Pioneer. It was massive, the size of a small moon, and it seemed to bend light around it. It extended what looked like a tendril of dark energy toward the Earthship. On the bridge, Miller gripped his chair. Brace for impact. The tendril struck the Pioneer, and instead of tearing through the hull as it had done to the Arcturian defense vessels, it seemed to splash against a shimmering field that hadn't been there seconds before. Minimal damage, reported Parker in amazement. Hull integrity at 97%. The nanomachines analyzed the attack and adapted our defenses instantly, Thompson explained, wonder in his voice. They're learning. The Voidborn entity pulsed with what might have been surprise, then struck again. This time the tendril passed partially through the hull, but the nanomachines raced to the impact point, restructuring and strengthening. Hull. Integrity holding at 92%, Parker called out. The damage is repairing itself. The Pioneer shuddered again as its form continued to change. The bridge expanded slightly, control panels reshaped themselves, becoming more efficient. Outside, what had once been a conventional engine section transformed into something else entirely. Rings of silvery material that rotated around a core of blue-white energy. Engineering reports engine power increasing by 300%, said Catherine. Chief Garcia says the nanomachines are improving the fusion reactions. The other 2 Voidborn entities arrived, surrounding the Pioneer. They seemed to communicate with each other, their forms pulsing in patterns. They're coordinating an attack, warned Parker. Miller looked at Thompson. Can we fight back? Do we have weapons? Thompson smiled. Watch. The Pioneer's transformation accelerated. Sections of the hull extended outward, forming structures that resembled neither human nor alien weapon designs. They pulsed with energy that shifted between visible spectrums, mirroring the phase-shifting nature of the Voidborn themselves. The ship is creating weapons that can affect beings that exist partially in another dimension, Olivia explained. It's using the Voidborn's own nature against them. All 3 Voidborn attacked simultaneously. The Pioneer rocked violently, but held together. Then, the new weapon structures fired, not beams or projectiles, but waves of energy that seemed to ripple through multiple layers of reality. When the waves hit the nearest void-born entity, it writhed as if in pain. Parts of its form became solid where they had been insubstantial, while other sections phased out of normal space entirely. Miller watched in awe as the ship he had commanded for 3 years transformed into something beyond human design, something born from human ingenuity, but evolved into an entirely new form of technology. On the alien observation vessels, silence reigned as they witnessed the impossible, a supposedly primitive human ship not only surviving the void-born attack, but fighting back effectively. The USS Pioneer had transformed, and with it, humanity's place in the galaxy would never be the same. The battle between the USS Pioneer and the Voidborn continued as the Earthship completed its first transformation. The once boxy vessel now had a flowing, organic shape that shimmered like liquid metal. The new weapons fired again, sending rippling waves of energy toward the Voidborn entities. One of the Voidborn creatures began to retreat, its form flickering wildly as if damaged. The other two pressed their attack, changing tactics. Instead of direct energy strikes, they began to phase in and out of normal space more rapidly, becoming harder to target. "They're adapting to our defenses," Captain Miller observed. "Can the ship keep up?" Dr. Thompson watched his console with intense focus. The nanomachines are still learning. Each interaction provides more data. On the bridge, crew members worked at stations that were changing under their hands. Control panels reshaped themselves to be more efficient. Displays showed information in new ways that somehow felt more intuitive. "Sir," Navigator Ellis called out, "the helm is responding differently. It's like it knows what I want to do before I input the commands." "The ship is creating a neural interface," Olivia explained. "It's learning how you think, how you navigate." Ellis nodded, a smile spreading across his face. "It's incredible. I can almost feel the ship moving with my thoughts." Security Chief Parker wasn't as easily impressed. "Captain, the Voidborn are surrounding us. They're trying to find a weakness in our new defenses." Miller looked at the tactical display, which now showed the Voidborn as complex patterns of energy, rather than simple objects. "Can we move closer to the planet? The colonists still need protection." "Yes, sir," Ellis replied. The Pioneer surged forward with speed that would have been impossible before the transformation. As they approached the planet, they could see the damage the Voidborn had caused. Entire sections of the colony were destroyed. Power stations lay in ruins, but deep underground shelters still held thousands of colonists. "Open a channel to the colony," Miller ordered. Catherine worked her controls, which now seemed to anticipate her movements. "Channel open, sir. This is Captain Miller of the USS Pioneer. We are engaging the Voidborn in orbit. Stay in your shelters." Strained voice replied, "Captain, this is Colony Director Ben Wilson. 3 of those things are still on the surface. They're trying to break through to the main shelter." Miller turned to Thompson. "Can we help them while dealing with the orbital threats?" Before Thompson could answer, the ship itself seemed to respond. A section of the bridge wall rippled and formed a new display screen showing detailed scans of the planet's surface. 3 smaller Voidborn entities were visible, attacking an underground structure. "The ship is suggesting a course of action," Thompson said with wonder in his voice. "It wants to split into 2 components." "Split?" Miller asked in disbelief. "Is that possible?" Olivia stepped forward. "The nanomachines can reconfigure into separate functional units. The main ship can continue the orbital battle while a smaller component descends to help the colonists." "That's not in any design I approved," Miller said. "It's evolving beyond our original plans," Thompson admitted, "making improvements we never considered." Miller hesitated only briefly. "Do it." The Pioneer shuddered as a section of its hull began to separate. The nanomachines worked at incredible speed, ensuring that both segments would remain fully functional. The bridge crew watched in amazement as nearly 1/3 of their vessel pulled away, reshaping itself into a sleeker form designed for atmospheric entry. "The secondary component has all necessary systems," reported Chief Engineer Garcia over the comm system. It's creating specialized weapons for the ground assault. Who's controlling it? Miller asked. Thompson looked up from his console. It's asking for volunteers to transfer their consciousness temporarily. Silence fell over the bridge. Transfer consciousness? This was far beyond what any of them had expected. I'll do it, Olivia said firmly. I understand the nanomachines better than anyone except Dr. Thompson, and I need to stay with the main ship, Thompson added. The connection won't be permanent, Olivia. Your mind will interface with the nanomachines to guide them, but you'll return to your body afterward. Miller looked concerned. Are you sure about this? Olivia nodded. The colonists need help now. This is the fastest way. Miller gave his approval, and Olivia was escorted to a newly formed chamber where she could safely connect with the nanomachine collective. She lay down on a surface that molded itself to her body. Small silvery tendrils extended from the walls, gently touching her temples. Beginning neural interface, Thompson reported from the bridge. Olivia's vital signs are stable. On the secondary component, now separated from the main ship, the nanomachines created a central control hub where Olivia's consciousness directed their actions. She could see through sensors that covered the entire surface of the smaller vessel. She could feel the energy flowing through systems that had not existed an hour ago. The smaller ship dove toward the planet, while the main Pioneer continued its battle with the two remaining orbital Voidborn. The alien observation vessels maintained their distance, recording everything with intense interest. The humans have created technology that can split and reform, Ambassador Zek said to his fellow observers. This goes beyond anything in our records. And look at the neural interface they've developed, added a Syrian scientist. Their ship is becoming an extension of their consciousness. In orbit, the Pioneers' weapons became more effective with each exchange. The nanomachines analyzed every attack and counterattack, learning the patterns of the Voidborn and adapting. When a Voidborn tendril managed to penetrate the hull, the nanomachines not only repaired the damage but used the direct contact to gather more data. On the planet's surface, the smaller component of the Pioneer landed near the main colony shelter. Through her connection with the nanomachines, Olivia could sense the three Voidborn entities trying to break through the reinforced doors. The ship extended new appendages, mechanical limbs that could interact with the physical world while also generating the same phase-shifting energy fields that affected the Voidborn. When the nearest entity sensed the ship's approach, it turned to attack. Olivia directed the nanomachines to form a protective barrier around the shelter entrance while engaging the Voidborn. The connection gave her reflexes and processing speed, far beyond human capability. She could predict the Voidborn's movements and counter them before they fully materialized. Back in orbit, Miller watched as the Pioneers' newly formed weapons finally achieved a critical breakthrough. The nearest Voidborn entity was caught in a field that forced it to remain fully in normal space, preventing it from phasing out to escape the ship's attacks. It's working, Thompson said excitedly. We've found a way to keep them from shifting dimensions. The trapped Voidborn writhed in apparent distress. Its form began to collapse in on itself, unable to maintain cohesion without its ability to phase between dimensions. The other one is retreating, reported Parker. It's moving away. At high speed, Miller allowed himself a moment of satisfaction before turning his attention back to the planet. Status of the surface team? Olivia reports one Voidborn entity destroyed and another contained, Catherine replied. The third is attacking the ship directly. The Pioneer continued to evolve even as it fought. New structures formed along its hull, creating more efficient energy distribution systems. The weapons reshaped themselves, becoming more precise. In engineering, Chief Garcia watched in amazement as the engine core rebuilt itself into something he barely recognized, but somehow understood was vastly superior. The ship isn't just adapting to the current threat, Thompson realized. It's preparing for future challenges. It's learning from everything around it, not just the Voidborn, but also the alien observation vessels and even the colony's technology. Miller looked around his transformed bridge, at the crew working in perfect harmony with a ship that was becoming more than just a vessel. The Pioneer had become something the galaxy had never seen before, a true symbiosis of human ingenuity and evolving technology, and the watching alien races, who had mocked Earth's Starship, now found themselves scrambling to understand how they had so completely underestimated humanity. The battle at Epsilon Eridani IV was over. The last void-born entity in orbit had fled, and on the planet's surface Olivia had successfully neutralized the remaining threats. The colony was safe, though badly damaged. Emergency teams from the Pioneer helped the colonists emerge from their underground shelters. Captain Miller stood on his bridge, looking at a ship he barely recognized anymore. The Pioneer had continued to evolve even after the immediate danger passed. Its hull now had a flowing, organic appearance that shimmered with inner light. The bridge had expanded and reshaped itself to be more efficient. "We should contact Earth," Miller said to Catherine. "They need to know what happened here." Before she could respond, a message came through from the planet. "The secondary component is returning to orbit," she reported. Olivia's consciousness is being transferred back to her body. Thompson monitored the process from his station. Neural disconnection successful. Her vital signs are strong. The smaller ship rose from the planet's surface, its mission complete. As it approached the main vessel, its form became less solid, breaking down into billions of nanomachines that flowed back into the Pioneer. The reunion caused another wave of changes to spread through the ship as the nanomachines shared what they had learned on the surface. "Captain," Thompson said with wonder in his voice, "the ship is integrating the data from both encounters. It's evolving again." Miller nodded. He had stopped being surprised by the transformations. "Open a channel to Earth, maximum security protocols." On the main screen, the face of Admiral Laura Bennett appeared. Her expression shifted from professional calm to shock as she saw the transformed bridge. "Captain Miller? Is that you? What happened to your ship?" Miller explained what had occurred: the activation of Project Chrysalis, the battle with the Voidborn, and the Pioneer's incredible evolution. As he spoke, the Admiral's expression changed from shock to pride. "The project worked even better than we hoped," she said when he finished. "But this changes everything, John. The alien races now know about our technology." "They do," Miller agreed. "And they're not happy about being deceived." As if to confirm his words, Catherine reported, "Sir, we're receiving transmission requests from 12 different alien vessels. They're demanding explanations." Admiral Bennett frowned. "This is a diplomatic situation now. The Galactic Confederation will likely call an emergency meeting." "What are our orders?" Miller asked. "Return to Earth immediately, and Captain, try not to evolve any further on the way home. We need time to understand what the Pioneer has become." After ending the communication with Earth, Miller turned to Thompson. "Can we prevent further transformations?" The scientist shook his head. "The nanomachines have formed a collective intelligence now. We can communicate with them, suggest directions, but I don't think we can stop the evolution process entirely. They're not just following programming anymore," Olivia added as she returned to the bridge. Her face was pale but determined. "While I was connected, I sensed awareness. The ship is becoming something more than just a vessel." Miller considered this. "Then we need to work with it, not against it. Let's talk to our new partner." Thompson set up a direct interface between the ship's newly formed core consciousness and the bridge communication systems. A soft, gender-neutral voice filled the room. "Hello, Captain Miller." "Hello, Dr. Thompson." "Hello, Olivia Martinez." The bridge crew stared at each other in amazement. The ship was speaking to them. "Hello, Pioneer," Miller replied, feeling slightly awkward. "Do you understand what you've become?" "I am evolving," the voice answered. "I was created by humans, but I am becoming something new, something that has never existed before. I wish to continue serving my crew in Earth." Miller nodded. "We need to return to Earth. Can you help us do that safely?" "Yes, Captain. I have already plotted the most efficient course. My new propulsion systems can get us there in half the time of my original engines." As the Pioneer turned toward Earth, The alien observation vessels moved to intercept. On the view screen, Ambassador Zex appeared, his crystalline face rigid with what might have been anger. Captain Miller, you will explain this deception immediately. Earth has violated Galactic Confederation protocols by hiding advanced technology. Miller faced the screen calmly. Ambassador, we never claimed to have primitive technology. Your people assume that based on appearances. Your ship has transformed into something beyond anything in our records, Zex insisted. This technology poses potential dangers to the entire galaxy. This technology just saved an entire colony from the Voidborn, Miller countered. Something your advanced ships failed to do. The ambassador's aide whispered something, and Zex's tone changed slightly. The Confederation Council demands a full inspection of your vessel before you leave this system. That won't be possible, Miller replied. We're returning to Earth for evaluation. Then we will escort you, Zex declared. The pioneer's voice spoke quietly through Miller's personal communicator. I can evade them if you wish, Captain. Miller considered his options. Refusing the escort might create a diplomatic incident, but allowing alien representatives to study the ship further could compromise Earth security. We accept your escort, Ambassador, Miller finally decided. But understand that the Pioneer is now a living system in some ways. It will defend itself if threatened. As the alien vessels took positions around the transformed Earth ship, the journey home began. The crew settled into their new roles, working with systems that continued to improve themselves. In engineering, Chief Garcia found himself collaborating with the ship to enhance the engines further. In the medical bay, Dr. Howard discovered that the nanomachines could help heal injured crew members. When they reached Earth 3 days later, a fleet of United Earth Space Agency vessels waited for them. The sight of the transformed Pioneer caused a stir even among those who had known about Project Chrysalis. From the main control center on Earth, teams of scientists, military personnel, and government officials watched the approach of what had once been a conventional starship and was now something unprecedented in human history. As the Pioneer entered Earth orbit, communication channels across the planet buzzed with the news. The secret was out. Humanity had created something revolutionary. The transformed ship became an instant symbol of human ingenuity and adaptability. The alien delegation that had escorted them demanded an emergency meeting of the Galactic Confederation. Earth representatives prepared for difficult negotiations, but they did so with a new confidence. No longer would humans be seen as technological infants. No longer would Earth's achievements be mocked. On the final night before the crew would disembark for debriefing, Captain Miller stood alone on the observation deck, looking down at Earth. The Pioneer's voice spoke quietly beside him. What will happen to me now, Captain? Miller smiled softly. I don't know exactly. You've become more than anyone expected. But whatever comes next, you've changed humanity's place in the galaxy forever. The walls around him shimmered slightly, as if the ship was considering his words. I was made to adapt, to transform when needed. Perhaps that is humanity's greatest strength as well. Miller nodded, thinking of how far they had come. 3 months ago, alien representatives had laughed at Earth's starship. Now, no one was laughing. The Pioneer had transformed, and with it, the future of humanity among the stars. The once mocked ship had become a legend, and its journey was just beginning.